The world is still dark when you begin to stir, wrapped in warm furs within a small cabin nestled against the mountainside. Outside, the wind whispers softly through the pines, a gentle, constant companion in these high northern reaches. You rise slowly, unhurried, and move to the window. Through the frosted glass, you can see the faintest hint of purple touching the eastern sky. Dawn is coming, patient and inevitable. You dress warmly, layering wool and fur against the mountain cold, and step outside into the hushed world. Your breath forms small clouds in the crisp air, dissipating slowly into the darkness. The snow beneath your boots gives a soft crunch with each step, a rhythmic sound that becomes a meditation as you begin to walk. The path before you is barely visible, a subtle impression in the endless white, winding down through the pine forest. Above, the stars are beginning to fade, surrendering to the approaching day. You walk slowly, in no particular hurry, letting your eyes adjust to the dim light. The trees stand like silent sentinels on either side, their branches heavy with fresh snow that glitters faintly in the starlight. As you descend, the sky begins to change. The deep indigo softens to violet, then to the palest lavender. The transformation is so gradual that you cannot pinpoint the exact moment when night becomes morning. It simply happens, like breathing. A snowshoe hare crosses your path, white against white, visible only in movement. It pauses, regards you with dark, calm eyes, then continues on its way, unhurried. The first birdsong reaches your ears, a single, clear note from somewhere in the darkness of the pines. Then another answers, and another, until the forest begins to wake in a gentle chorus. These are not the raucous calls of summer birds, but the quiet, contemplative songs of winter residents, the soft coo of a snow owl settling in after its night hunt, the delicate trill of a mountain finch, the distant tap-tap-tap of a woodpecker beginning its morning work. The path curves, and suddenly you can see it, the first true light of dawn. To the east, beyond the ranks of mountains, the sky blooms in shades of rose and gold. The light is soft, diffused through high clouds, painting the world in pastels. The snow-covered peaks catch this light first, glowing pink and orange against the still purple sky, like embers floating in water. You stop here, on a small outcropping, and simply watch. There is no need to hurry. Time moves differently in the mountains, stretched and languid. The wind touches your face, cold but not harsh, carrying with it the scent of pine and snow when something else, something clean and ancient and impossible to name. As the light grows, details emerge from the darkness. The pine forest reveals itself in layers, first the nearest trees, then those further down the slope, then the distant forest flowing like a dark green sea toward the valley below. Frost coats every branch, every needle, turning the trees into sculptures of crystal and shadow. When the wind stirs them gently, they release small cascades of snow that fall like whispered secrets. You continue walking, descending toward the sound you've begun to hear beneath the wind and birdsong, the soft murmur of water. The path winds through the pines, and with each step, the sound grows clearer. Not the rush and roar of spring meltwater, but the gentler music of a winter stream, flowing beneath shelves of ice. The trees open before you, and there it is, a river, perhaps 20 feet across, its surface a pattern of flowing water and ice. In some places, the stream runs clear and dark, moving with steady purpose over smooth stones. In others, ice forms bridges and grottos, creating spaces of blue shadow and crystalline light. Where water meets ice, there is movement and sound, a soft gurgling, a gentle splash, a continuous whisper that speaks of journeys and destinations unknown. You follow the riverbank, walking on stones and hard-packed snow. Your footsteps are soft, rhythmic, becoming part of the river's song. Steam rises from the open water, curling and twisting in the cold air, catching the growing light. The steam turns gold, then pink, then gold again as the sun climbs hidden behind the mountains. A deer appears on the opposite bank, a doe with her fawn. They've come to drink where the water runs clear. The doe lowers her head gracefully, and the fawn mimics her, uncertain on legs still learning their strength. They drink slowly, peacefully, unafraid. You stand motionless, barely breathing, honored to witness this quiet moment. The doe raises her head, water dripping from her muzzle, and looks across the river. Her gaze passes over you, calm and knowing, before she turns and leads her fawn back into the forest, their forms disappearing into the pines like thoughts dissolving into sleep. The river bends, and you follow. Here, the water is carved through ancient stone, creating a small canyon perhaps 10 feet deep. You descend carefully, using roots and stones as steps, until you stand at the water's edge. The canyon walls rise on either side, sheltering this place from the wind. The silence here is profound, broken only by the water's gentle voice. You sit near the cairn, your back against a sun-warmed rock, and simply breathe. The morning is fully arrived now, though it cannot be much past 7. Time has stretched, expanded, become something other than minutes and hours. You've lived a lifetime in this dawn, traveled vast distances while walking perhaps 2 miles. The mountains have taught you their lesson, that peace is not found in stillness or motion, but in the gentle space between them. Your eyes grow heavy. The sun is warm, the rock comfortable, the wind a lullaby. You let yourself drift, not quite sleeping, not quite waking, existing in that peaceful borderland where thoughts become dreams, become thoughts again. The sounds continue around you, wind, birds, the distant river, but they seem to come from very far away, or perhaps from very deep inside you. You cannot tell which, and it doesn't matter. When you finally stir, 5 minutes later or an hour, you cannot tell, the sun has climbed higher, and the world has settled into its morning self. The magical quality of dawn has passed, but it has left something behind, something you carry within you now. You feel rested in a way that has nothing to do with sleep, renewed in a way that goes deeper than the physical. The path continues along the ridge, then descends on the far side. You follow it down, your steps sure and unhurried, as it leads you back toward the cabin where you began. The circle is closing, the journey completing itself. You pass through meadows and forests you recognize yet see as if for the first time. The river crosses your path again, and you stop once more to listen to its voice, to watch its endless flowing. The cabin comes into view through the trees, its chimney trailing a thin line of smoke into the blue sky. Someone has lit the fire, perhaps you did, before you left, though you don't remember. It doesn't matter. What matters is the warmth waiting inside, the rest waiting inside, the peace you carry with you now as you walk the final steps. You pause at the cabin door, turning to look back the way you came. The mountains stand eternal, touched with light. The forest spreads its blanket of green and white. The sky stretches overhead, infinite and perfect. And somewhere, beyond sight but not beyond hearing, the river flows on, as it has always flowed, as it will always flow, singing its quiet song to anyone who stops to listen. You go inside, remove your boots, hang your coat. The fire crackles softly in the hearth. Your bed waits, warm and welcoming, and you lie down, pulling the furs over you. Through the window, you can see the mountains, the trees, the morning sky. But your eyes are already closing, your breathing already slowing, your body already sinking into the deep rest you've earned. The last thing you hear, as sleep finally claims you, is the wind in the pines, soft, constant, eternal, singing you home. Rest now. The mountains will still be there when you wake. You wake slowly, naturally, as sunlight streams through the cabin window. The fire has burned down to glowing embers, and the room is filled with a comfortable warmth. Outside, the morning has fully blossomed, the sky is a clear, brilliant blue, and the sun has climbed well above the mountains. You've slept deeply, peacefully, and now you rise refreshed, ready to continue your journey. Today, you decide, you will walk to Whiterun. Not because you must, but because the open plains are calling to you, and there is something appealing about the thought of the city, its warm hearths, its friendly voices, its sense of community nestled in the vast wilderness. You pack a small satchel with bread and cheese, fill a water skin from the cold spring near your cabin, and set out. The path down from the mountains is different in full daylight. What was mysterious in the dawn is now revealed. The trail is well worn, marked occasionally by stacked stones, winding through groves of aspen and pine. The snow is less deep here on the southern slopes, and in some places, you can see brown grass and dark earth showing through. The seasons are turning, you realize, even in the north. Spring is still distant, but winter is beginning to loosen its grip, degree by imperceptible degree. As you descend, the air grows warmer, softer. You unbutton your heaviest coat, letting the breeze cool your skin. Birds are more numerous here. You spot a hawk circling lazily overhead, riding the thermal currents, and a pair of blue jays chase each other through the branches, their calls bright and musical. Life is returning to the land, you think, or perhaps it never left. It was simply resting, gathering strength beneath the snow. The trail levels out, joining a wider path, still earthen, but clearly traveled by carts and horses. You can see the marks of wagon wheels, the impressions of hoofprints, all softened by time and weather. This is one of the many small roads that connect the holds, used by traders and travelers, by farmers bringing goods to market, by wanderers like yourself seeking nothing more than the next horizon. You walk at an easy pace, your feet finding their rhythm. The path follows a stream that chatters over stones, running south and west. Willows grow along its banks, their bare branches swaying in the breeze, and you notice the first signs of buds, tiny, green promises of leaves to come. You pause to watch the water, clearer here in the lowlands, and you can see fish darting in the shallows, small, silvery forms that flash and disappear, flash and disappear. The forest begins to thin, and gradually, the character of the land changes. The steep mountain slopes give way to rolling hills, and the hills give way to something else, the first reach of the great plains that surround Whiterun. The trees become scattered, standing in small copses among stretches of grassland. The grass is golden and brown, last year's growth lying flat beneath the snow that remains in patches. But you can see green beneath, waiting. You crest a low hill, and there, in the distance, you see it, Whiterun. The city sits on a rise in the midst of the plains, its walls a soft gray against the landscape. From this distance, perhaps 2 miles away, it looks like something from a painting, a collection of shapes and colors that seem both solid and dreamlike. The outer wooden walls encircle the city, and within them, you can see the stone towers of Dragon's Reach rising above everything else, its ancient architecture catching the sunlight. Smoke rises from countless chimneys, thin lines that drift and merge with the clouds. You find a quiet spot on the wall that encircles the Wind District, a place where you can sit with your back against sun-warmed stone and look out over the Plains District below and the landscape beyond. From here, Whiterun feels like a small, bright island in the vast sea of the plains. The tundra stretches in every direction, golden and white, rolling gently toward distant horizons. To the north, you can see the mountains you left this morning, blue and purple and still touched with snow. To the south, the land fades into haze and sky, infinite and peaceful. Below, life continues its gentle rhythm. You can see Adrienne at her forge, still working. You can see people moving through the market, conducting their business with unhurried care. You can see smoke rising from chimneys, and birds circling overhead, and clouds drifting slowly across the blue expanse of sky. The sun is warm on your face. The stone is solid at your back. The breeze carries the scent of forge fire and bread and winter grass. And for this moment, this perfect, suspended moment, you are exactly where you need to be. You close your eyes, breathing slowly and deeply, and you can hear it all: the hammer, the voices, the wind, the distant bird calls, the rustle of fabric, the creak of cartwheels, the laughter of children. All of it blends into something that is not quite music and not quite silence, but something in between. The sound of a city living, breathing, simply being. Time passes. The sun climbs a bit higher. The shadows shift and shorten. Eventually, you'll rise and continue exploring, perhaps climb to the cloud district to see dragons reach up close, perhaps return to the market to browse its offerings. Or perhaps you'll find an inn and rent a room for the afternoon, to rest in a proper bed with clean sheets and the sound of the city outside your window. But for now, you remain here, suspended between mountain and plain, between journey and arrival, between waking and rest. The road has brought you here, and here is good. Here is exactly right. Your breathing slows to match the rhythm of the city around you, slow, steady, peaceful. Your body relaxes completely, held by the warm stone, cooled by the gentle breeze. And if your eyes grow heavy, if the sounds begin to fade into the background like a lullaby, that's just fine. Whiterun will still be here when you wake. The forge will still ring, the bread will still bake, the children will still play. Life will continue its patient, beautiful unfolding. And you, having walked from mountain to city, from dawn to daylight, from solitude to community, can rest now, knowing you are safe, you are welcome, and all is well. Rest now. The city watches over you. You rest in Whiterun for a time, perhaps a day, perhaps two. The city has been kind to you, its warmth and companionship a balm after your solitary days in the northern wilds. But eventually, as you knew it would, the call comes again. The mountains are speaking, and you must answer. This time, you turn your gaze east, toward the highest peaks. Toward the throat of the world. You leave Whiterun in the early afternoon, when the sun is warm and the shadows are short. The guards wave as you pass through the gates, and you return their farewell with a smile. The road stretches before you, leading toward the rising land where the plains begin their transformation into foothills, and the foothills climb toward something greater. The path is well traveled at first, shared by merchants and pilgrims, farmers returning from market and adventurers seeking their fortunes. But as the hours pass and you move steadily eastward, the traffic thins. Those with business in the lowlands have turned back. Only those drawn to the mountains continue, and even they are few. You pass through a small village as the afternoon light turns golden. A handful of houses cluster around a mill, where a great wooden wheel turns slowly in the stream, creaking rhythmically. An old woman sits outside one of the houses, spinning wool, her wheel turning in time with the mill wheel, both ancient rhythms that have continued for generations. She looks up as you pass and nods, a simple acknowledgement of one traveler to another. You nod back, and the moment passes, quiet and complete. Beyond the village, the path begins to climb. Gradually at first, so gently you barely notice, then with more purpose. The plains fall away behind you, and the forest rises to meet you, not the dense pine forests of the north, but mixed woodland, where birch and aspen grow alongside evergreens. The birch trees are particularly beautiful, their white bark almost luminous in the slanting light, their branches reaching upward like prayers. You walk through falling leaves, the last holdouts from autumn, finally surrendering to the approach of winter. They drift down around you, spinning slowly, catching the light. Gold and copper and pale yellow, they carpet the path in layers of color. Your footsteps make a soft rustling sound, a gentle whisper that accompanies you up the mountain. A stream parallels your path, running down from the heights. It's livelier than the winter streams you encountered in the north, not yet slowed by ice, tumbling over rocks with cheerful energy. The sound of it is constant, a bright voice that speaks of high places and clean sources, of snowmelt and mountain springs. You pause to drink from it, kneeling at the edge and cupping your hands. The water is cold, sharp, perfect. It tastes of stone and sky. As you climb higher, the air changes. It grows cooler, yes, but also clearer, thinner, somehow more transparent. Colors seem brighter, edges sharper. Your breathing deepens to compensate for the altitude, falling into a rhythm that matches your footsteps. In, out. In, out. A meditation of breath and movement. The mixed forest gives way to pure evergreen, spruce and fir, their dark branches forming a canopy overhead. The light that filters through is green gold, soft and dappled. The forest floor is carpeted with moss and fallen needles, cushioning your steps. The silence here is profound, broken only by the stream, your breathing, the occasional call of a mountain bird. You see a fox, its red coat brilliant against the green shadows. It sits beside the path, watching you with amber eyes, curious but unafraid. You stop, and for a long moment, you and the fox regard each other. Its tail curls around its feet, its ears swivel toward you, tracking every small sound you make. Then, having satisfied its curiosity, it stands and trots into the underbrush, disappearing as if it had never been. The path steepens, switching back and forth across the mountainside. You climb steadily, pausing occasionally to catch your breath and look back at the world below. Each pause reveals a broader vista, the village, now distant and small, its smoke rising in thin threads. The plains beyond, stretching to the horizon, golden in the late afternoon light. The sky above, impossibly vast and blue. You notice wildflowers growing beside the path, alpine blooms that have found purchase in the rocky soil. They're small, delicate things, purple and white in the palest pink, but they hold a fierce beauty. That anything so fragile could survive up here, exposed to wind and cold and harsh sun, seems miraculous. You kneel beside a cluster of them, marveling at their soft petals, their perfect symmetry. A bee visits one, hovering, gathering what nectar remains before the coming winter. You watch it work, methodical and purposeful, then fly away down the mountain toward its hive. Stars appear, brighter than you've ever seen them. Up here, away from any settlements, with nothing but thin air between you and the heavens, they blaze with a fierce light. You can see the sweep of the galaxy, a river of stars flowing across the sky. You can see planets, distinguishable by their steady glow, and the occasional streak of a falling star. The wind quiets as true night falls, as if the mountain is settling down to sleep. The silence is complete, absolute, the kind of silence you can only find in high places, far from any human sound. In this silence, you can hear your own breath, your own heartbeat, the small sounds of your body existing. And beneath that, or perhaps above it, you imagine you can hear the mountain itself, its slow geological processes, its patient existence, its eternal presence. You close your eyes, still sitting upright against the rock, and let the mountain hold you. The stone is solid at your back, the snow soft beneath you, the stars bright above. You are small here, insignificant, and yet you belong here as much as the stone and snow and stars. You are part of it all, woven into the fabric of existence. Your breathing slows to match the mountain's rhythm, slow, deep, eternal. Your thoughts quiet, becoming as still as the air around you. And in that stillness, in that perfect peace, you begin to understand something. Not in words, words are too small for this, but in some deeper way. You understand why people have always come to mountains to find answers, to seek truth, to touch something greater than themselves. The mountain doesn't give answers. It simply is. And in that being, in that patient, eternal existence, there is a kind of answer after all. You let yourself drift, not quite sleeping but not quite awake, floating in that peaceful space between. The cold doesn't bother you anymore. The altitude doesn't tire you. You are, for this moment, exactly where you need to be, exactly who you need to be. The throat of the world rises above you, its summit still hidden in clouds, its slopes silent and still. It will be there tomorrow when you wake. It will be there for 1,000 tomorrows after that. It's not going anywhere. Neither are you, not tonight. Tonight, you rest in the arms of the mountain, held by stone and snow and starlight, cradled by something ancient and patient and kind. Rest now. The mountain keeps watch. You step off the path and into this cathedral of trees, and immediately the world changes. The sounds of wind and distant birds fade, replaced by a profound quiet that seems to emanate from the forest itself. Your footsteps are nearly silent on the thick carpet of pine needles that covers the ground, centuries of accumulation creating a soft, springy surface. The air smells of resin and earth and growing things, a scent so rich and complex you could spend hours trying to identify all its components. Shafts of sunlight pierce the canopy here and there, creating pillars of brightness in the green shade. Dust motes and pollen drift through these beams, visible as tiny points of light, moving with imperceptible currents of air. You walk through one of these columns of light and pause, feeling the warmth on your skin, watching the particles dance around you like slow-motion stars. The ground begins to slope downward, and you follow it, drawn by a sound you can barely hear, the soft whisper of water. As you descend, the character of the forest changes subtly. The pine needles give way to moss, thick and vibrant green, covering the ground like a living carpet. It cushions every step, completely silencing your footfalls. You're moving through the forest now like a ghost, like a thought, barely disturbing the air. The moss isn't just on the ground, it climbs the tree trunks, covers fallen logs, drapes over stones. It's everywhere, transforming the forest floor into something from a dream. And in places where the moss grows thickest, you see other things, small ferns unfurling their delicate fronds, mushrooms in clusters of white and brown and red, tiny flowers no bigger than your fingernail, growing in the shelter of larger plants. You kneel beside a fallen log, examining the ecosystem that has made it home. The bark is soft and crumbling, being slowly reclaimed by the forest. Moss covers it in patches of different shades, deep forest green, pale sage, almost yellow where the sun touches it. Mushrooms sprout from it in neat rows, their caps perfect half circles. A beetle walks along it, navigating the moss-like mountains, and you watch it for a while, marveling at its patient progress. The sound of water grows clearer, and soon you see it, a stream, perhaps 5 feet across, flowing over smooth stones. The water is crystal clear, and you can see every pebble on the bottom, every small fish that darts through the shallows. The current is gentle but steady, and the sound it makes is like music, not a single note but a whole composition, different tones blending together as water moves over stones of different sizes, through channels of varying depths. You follow the stream, walking along its bank. The moss grows even thicker here, fed by the moisture, and in places, it extends right to the water's edge, creating soft green banks that seem to glow in the filtered light. Ferns grow in abundance, their fronds arching over the stream, and when you brush against them, they release tiny spores that drift away like smoke. A deer appears on the opposite bank, a young buck, his antlers still small, covered in velvet. He lowers his head to drink, his reflection perfect in the still water at the stream's edge. You freeze, not wanting to startle him, and for several heartbeats, you watch each other across the water. His large dark eyes are calm, curious but not afraid. He seems to assess you, to decide you pose no threat, and returns to drinking. The sound of his lapping is barely audible over the stream's gentle voice. When he's finished, he raises his head, water dripping from his muzzle, and looks at you once more. Then, in an unhurried movement, he turns and walks into the forest, disappearing among the trees as silently as he appeared. You remain still for a moment longer, feeling honored by the encounter, grateful for his trust. You find a spot where a large flat stone sits beside the stream, half in sun and half in shade. You settle onto it, arranging yourself comfortably, and simply sit. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. The forest is offering you its gift, time that moves differently, time that's measured not in hours but in the growing of moss, the flowing of water, the turning of seasons. You don't disturb it. Instead, you rise quietly and continue on, leaving the fox to its dreams. The forest path leads on, winding between trees, following no particular direction. You're no longer going anywhere specific, you're simply moving through the forest, being present in it, letting it show you what it wants to show you. You find a fallen tree, massive and ancient, its trunk hollowed out by time and weather. You can see into the hollow, and inside, there's an entire world, moss and ferns growing, insects crawling, perhaps the home of some small mammal. The tree is no longer standing, no longer reaching for the sky, but it's not dead. It's simply transformed, serving a different purpose now, giving life in a new way. The afternoon is fading into early evening when you finally emerge from the deepest part of the forest. The light is golden, slanting through the trees at a low angle, and the shadows are long and soft. You're tired, but in the best way, the good tiredness that comes from gentle exercise and fresh air and time spent in beauty. You find a place to rest for the night, a small shelter formed by an overhanging rock and a thick grove of pines. The ground is soft with needles, and you arrange your bedroll, gather wood for a small fire, and settle in. The forest surrounds you, protective and kind, and as darkness falls, you can hear it settling down for the night, birds finding their roosts, small animals returning to their burrows, the wind dying down to nothing. You lie by your small fire, watching its flames dance, listening to it crackle and pop. The trees are dark shapes against a sky full of stars. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls, a low, soft hoot that seems more like a question than a declaration. The forest answers with silence, with stillness, with peace. Your eyes close, and the forest holds you gently, the way it has held countless travelers before you, the way it will hold countless more after you're gone. You're safe here, cradled by roots and watched over by ancient trees, surrounded by life that asks nothing of you except to be present, to be quiet, to rest. Rest now. The forest keeps its vigil. You wake in the forest as the day is already well along, sunlight filtering through the pine canopy in soft, golden streams. There's no urgency in your waking, your eyes simply open when they're ready, your body rises when it's rested. The fire has long since died to cold ash, but the day is warm enough that you don't need it. Birds are singing their afternoon songs, quieter than the morning chorus but no less beautiful. You gather your things slowly, methodically, leaving the camping spot as you found it. The forest has been generous with its hospitality, and you show your gratitude by taking care. When you're done, there's barely any sign you were here at all, just a small circle of stones where the fire was, which will be reclaimed by moss in a season or two. Today, you realize, the journey is coming full circle. You've walked from mountains to plains, from city to wilderness, from high peaks to deep forests. And now something is drawing you toward a place of rest, a place of completion. You don't know exactly where it is yet, but you trust that you'll recognize it when you find it. The path leads you out of the deepest forest, through groves that grow gradually more open, more filled with light. The trees here are a mix of pine and aspen, and the aspen leaves are golden, trembling in the slightest breeze with a sound like whispered conversations. The light through these leaves is warm, honey-colored, touching everything with gentleness. You walk easily, unhurried, your body strong from days of travel, your mind quiet and clear. The forest around you is alive with the sounds of late afternoon, birds calling as they begin to think about evening roosts, squirrels chattering as they gather the last supplies before winter, the wind moving through branches with a sound that's somewhere between music and breathing. The trees begin to thin, and through them, you catch glimpses of something ahead, open space, golden light, the suggestion of a view. Your steps quicken slightly, drawn forward by curiosity and anticipation. The path curves between two large pines, and suddenly you emerge into a clearing. It's perfect. The clearing is perhaps 50 yards across, carpeted in grass that's turned golden with the season. A few wildflowers still bloom, purple asters mostly, and some late-season yarrow, white and delicate. The grass is dotted with smooth stones, arranged by no human hand but by time and chance into patterns that seem almost intentional. At the far edge of the clearing, the land drops away, offering a view that stretches for miles. You walk to the edge and look out. Below, the forest continues, rolling away in waves of green and gold. Beyond that, you can see the plains, vast and open, stretching to the horizon. To the north, the mountains rise, their peaks touched with snow, the same peaks where your journey began. To the east, the throat of the world stands eternal, its summit now clear of clouds, sharp against the sky. And to the west, the sun is beginning its descent, still hours from setting but noticeably lower than it was at noon. The light is changing, becoming richer, warmer, more golden. This is the magic hour, photographers call it, when everything seems to glow from within. The grass at your feet looks like spun gold. The distant mountains are painted in shades of purple and blue and rose. Even the air seems to shimmer with light, each particle catching and holding the sun's warmth. You find a large, flat stone near the center of the clearing, sun-warmed and smooth, and you settle onto it, sitting cross-legged, your hands resting gently in your lap. From here, you can see in all directions, can watch the world preparing for evening. And as you sit, breathing slowly and deeply, you begin to reflect on your journey. How many days has it been? You're not certain. Time has flowed differently out here, unmeasured by clocks or calendars, marked only by the movement of the sun and stars, the cycles of waking and sleeping. It could have been a week. It could have been longer. It doesn't matter. You think about the mountain cabin where you began, waking in darkness to witness the dawn. You can almost feel it again, the cold air, the anticipation, the first light touching the peaks. That seems so long ago now, and yet the peace you felt then is the same peace you feel now. It hasn't changed. You've carried it with you through every step of your journey. You remember the river with its patterns of ice and water, the deer and her fawn coming to drink. The hot spring steaming in the cold morning air, the raven watching from the pine tree. The ridgeline with its cairn of stones, the view stretching forever in all directions. Each moment was perfect in itself, complete and whole, needing nothing added or taken away. And then Whiterun, the warmth of community after solitude, the sound of the blacksmith's hammer, the smell of fresh bread, the children playing in the courtyard. The city welcomed you, asked nothing of you, simply allowed you to be present in its daily life. You remember sitting on the wall, watching the life below, feeling part of something larger than yourself. The journey to the throat of the world comes back to you, the climb through zones of life, each one different from the last. The alpine meadow with its impossible flowers. The stone bridge spanning the chasm. The high camp beneath the stars, where you felt the mountain's ancient presence and understood something without words. The summit called to you, but you listened to a different voice, one that led you back down, into the forest. The forest. You smile, remembering. The ancient pines with their cathedral quiet. The moss covering everything in shades of green. The stream with its gentle voice, the deer on the opposite bank, the rabbits playing while their mother watched. The birch grove where you lay in the sun, the fox sleeping peacefully nearby. The forest showed you that peace doesn't require altitude or achievement, it's available anywhere, in any moment, if you're willing to be present for it. And now you're here, in this clearing, as the day begins to soften into evening. The journey has brought you here, to this moment, this place. And sitting here now, you realize that every step was necessary, every moment had purpose, even if you didn't understand it at the time. The journey wasn't about reaching any destination, it was about the walking itself, the being present, the allowing yourself to move through beauty with open eyes and an open heart. The sun continues its descent, and the light continues to change. The golden hour is deepening, becoming richer, more saturated. The shadows are growing longer, stretching across the clearing like dark fingers, but they're not ominous, they're soft, gentle, part of the natural rhythm of the day moving toward rest. A breeze moves through the clearing, stirring the grass, carrying with it the scent of pine and earth and the distant promise of evening. It touches your face, your arms, and you close your eyes, simply feeling it. The wind is neither cold nor warm, simply present, simply moving, carrying out its eternal task of flowing from high pressure to low, from warm to cool, connecting all things. When you open your eyes, you notice the first birds beginning their evening routines. Swallows are swooping low over the clearing, catching insects in the golden light. Their flight is so graceful, so effortless, a series of curves and dives that seem more like dancing than hunting. You watch them for a long time, following their paths through the air, marveling at their precision and joy. A hawk circles high above, riding the thermal currents, barely moving its wings. It's in no hurry, simply floating, held aloft by forces invisible to your eyes but real nonetheless. You watch it spiral slowly higher, smaller and smaller, until it's just a speck against the blue, and then it's gone, and you're not sure if it flew away or if you simply can't see it anymore. The sun is lower now, perhaps an hour from touching the horizon. The light is no longer golden but something deeper, amber, honey, the color of old whiskey held up to a lamp. It pours across the landscape like something liquid, filling every valley, touching every peak, blessing everything it finds. You notice how quiet it's become. The birds have mostly settled, the wind has died to almost nothing, even the insects have quieted their buzzing. The world is holding its breath, suspended in this perfect moment between day and night, activity and rest, light and darkness. And you're part of that suspension, held gently in time's pause. You think about all the other people in Skyrim right now, going about their lives. The blacksmith in Whiterun, perhaps putting away her tools for the day, her work done. The farmer you passed, feeding his animals before the light fails. The merchant counting his profits, the baker cleaning her ovens, the children being called in for supper. All of them connected, all of them part of the same world, the same moment, though they'll never know you're sitting here, thinking of them with affection and goodwill. And you think about the land itself, the mountains and forests, the rivers and plains, the animals and birds and insects, all of it continuing its ancient patterns, following rhythms established long before humans arrived and which will continue long after humans are gone. You're just a visitor here, a brief presence, but for this moment, you're part of it all. You belong here as much as the stones and grass and trees. The sun touches the horizon, and the sky begins its evening show. The blue deepens to something richer. Clouds you hadn't noticed before, high cirrus, thin and wispy, catch the light and turn pink, then orange, then shades that don't have names. The mountains to the west are silhouetted against this display, dark shapes against brilliance, and they seem to grow more solid, more present, as if concentrating themselves for the night. You remain on your stone, watching, breathing, being. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to do. This moment is enough. This moment is everything. A star appears, the evening star, the first one brave enough to show itself while the sun still lights the sky. You watch it, that single point of light in the deepening blue, and you remember that it's not really a star but a planet, Venus probably, reflecting the sun's light back to you across the vast emptiness of space. But knowing that doesn't diminish its beauty. If anything, it increases it, this small, bright point, this fellow traveler around the sun, visible now in your moment of transition from day to night. The sun is halfway below the horizon now, and the colors intensify. The sky is a gradient from deep blue overhead to orange and pink and purple near the horizon, bands of color blending seamlessly into each other. The few clouds are lit from below, their undersides glowing like embers. The mountains are dark now, silhouettes, their details lost but their forms somehow more powerful for that loss. You notice you're smiling. You're not sure when it started, but your face is relaxed in a gentle smile, and your body feels light, peaceful, held by something larger than yourself. All the small worries that you carried with you when this journey started, they're gone now, or at least they've shrunk to their proper size. They're not important. They never were. What's important is this: being present, being alive, being connected to the world in the moment. The sun slips below the horizon, and the day releases its hold. The sky continues to glow for a while, that strange luminescence that comes after sunset, light from a source you can no longer see, reflecting off atmosphere and clouds, holding back the darkness for a few precious minutes more. More stars appear, one by one, then in clusters. The evening star is no longer alone. The temperature begins to drop, and you feel it on your skin, not uncomfortable, just noticeable, a reminder that the day is ending and the night is coming. But you're not cold. You're wrapped in the warmth of the journey, the memories of days in the sun, nights by the fire, moments of beauty and peace that have filled you up and sustain you now. A night bird calls, the first sound in what seems like a long silence. It's a gentle sound, tentative, testing the darkness. Another answers from across the clearing. And just like that, the night world begins to wake, to take its turn in the endless cycle of day and night, light and dark, activity and rest. You stand slowly, stretching, feeling the stiffness in your muscles from sitting, but it's a good stiffness, earned and honest. The stone where you sat still holds some warmth from the day, and you place your hand on it for a moment, a gesture of gratitude, of acknowledgement. It has served you well, this stone, giving you a place to rest and reflect. You look around the clearing one more time, imprinting it on your memory. The grass silvered now in the twilight. The stones scattered like stars on the earth. The edge where the land falls away to the forest below, to the plains beyond, to the mountains in the distance. This place has given you a gift, a perfect ending to your journey, a moment of peace and completion. But you know it's not really an ending. Journeys don't end, they simply pause, they transform, they continue in different forms. Tomorrow you might wake and set off again, seeking new horizons. Or you might find a place to settle for a while, to rest more deeply. Either way is fine. Either way is right. The journey has taught you to trust your instincts, to follow what calls to you, to be present wherever you are. You notice a sheltered spot at the edge of the clearing, beneath a pine whose lowest branches sweep almost to the ground, creating a natural shelter. You walk to it, and yes, it's perfect, protected from wind, soft with pine needles, positioned so you can still see the stars. You arrange your bedroll with practiced ease, settling in for the night. As you lie down, pulling your blankets around you, you can see through a gap in the branches. Stars fill the visible sky, more appearing every moment as the darkness deepens. You watch them, those distant suns, and you think about how the light you're seeing left them years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. That light has been traveling through space all that time, and it arrives here, now, in this moment, to touch your eyes. You're connected to those distant stars by light and time, part of the same universe, made of the same substance, stardust, all of you, atoms forged in ancient furnaces and scattered across space and time to form mountains and forests and human beings watching stars. The clearing is very quiet now. The night birds have settled into their rhythms. The wind is barely a whisper. The stars shine steadily overhead, and you lie beneath them, warm and safe, peaceful and complete. Your breathing slows, deepens, matching the rhythm of the sleeping earth. Your thoughts quiet, becoming less like thoughts and more like the gentle drift of consciousness toward rest. The boundary between waking and sleeping blurs, becomes permeable, and you float in that peaceful space between. The last thing you're aware of, though you can't say if you're awake or dreaming, is a sense of profound gratitude. For the journey. For the beauty you've witnessed. For the peace you've found. For the world that held you gently and asked nothing in return except that you be present, that you pay attention, that you allow yourself to be part of something larger and more beautiful than you could ever create alone. And then even that awareness fades, and there's just peace. Just rest. Just the gentle darkness and the watching stars and the earth holding you softly, the way it holds everything, with infinite patience and infinite care. You are home. You are safe. You are at peace. The journey is complete. And yet, in another way, it's just beginning. But that's for tomorrow to discover. For now, you rest. And the world rests with you. And all is well. Sleep now, traveler. Your journey has brought you exactly where you needed to be. End of story. May your dreams be filled with the peace of distant mountains, ancient forests, and starlit skies. May you wake refreshed, carrying this peace within you, ready for whatever journey calls to you next. Good night.